A very good day to my Professor Azila and my fellow friends. My name is Jasmine and metric number is 275557. So today I'm going to present about the country of Singapore with the title of Sustainability at Gardens by the Bay. So before we start, we're going to look into what is SDG12. So SDG12 is the responsible consumption and production, which is developed by the United Nations to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Here is the first fact of SDG12 created by the United Nations. So the first one is the United Nations found out that the worldwide consumption and production actually relies on the finite, rapidly and decreasing resource. And secondly, they also realized that businesses are the largest resource consumers in the world. And according to their research, in 2050, if the human didn't actually conserve the energy, 9.6 billion of global populations will require 3 Earth of the demands to meet the resource demands. So it's actually quite a lot. So the photo here is the 11 small targets under SDG12. So for today, we're going to look into 3 targets of SDG12, which is one of it is the sustainable management and use of natural resource, including the responsible management of chemicals and waste, and support the developing of scientific technology of sustainable consumption and production. So where is actually Singapore located at? So Singapore is located below Malaysia, which is one of the small islands in the south of the Malaysia. Next one, we're going to look into the Gardens by the Bay, which is the iconic of the Singapore destination. So the Gardens by the Bay is actually located at the south area of the Singapore island, which is near to Little India. Next one, let me introduce a little bit about the Gardens by the Bay. So Gardens by the Bay is a natural park that has a spanning of 101 hectares in the central region of Singapore that is near to the Marina Reservoir. So the park actually consists of 3 waterfront, which is the Bay South Garden, Bay East Garden, and also Bay Central Garden. So the largest of the garden is the Bay South Garden at 54 hectares, designed by the Grant Associates. So the Flower Dome is the largest glass greenhouse in the world, located in the Bay South Garden. So the government of Singapore actually wanted to provide a green escape from bustling city with various plant types and aesthetically pleasing architecture. So the futuristic design has already attracted more than 50 million visitors and tourists from around the world. So it's considered as one of the famous destinations in Singapore. So not only from the gardens that meets the eye, the government also wanted to stand as an icon for Singapore as incorporating sustainability features in the modern world design. So the photo here is the 3 gardens in the Gardens by the Bay, which I mentioned just now, which comprise of Bay Central, Bay South, and also Bay East. Alright, so this is the map of the Gardens by the Bay at the Bay South area, and it is one of the most popular destination in the Gardens by the Bay, which comprise of the flower domes, the 2 domes there, the super trees, and also the lakes located in the Bay South. And now I want to share about the 4 popular destinations in Gardens by the Bay. So the first one is the gigantic domes, and second one is the colossal super trees, green gardens and grassy lakes, and also the sweeping lawns. So these 4 is the sustainability of Gardens by the Bay created, and which make it a very popular destination now for Singapore. So next one, we're going to look into the gigantic domes, which is one of the largest of the 3 zones at Gardens by the Bay. It's the Bay South, which is the home to a collection of truly enchanting attractions. So this includes 3 gigantic domes, each have a very unique roles within their glass walls. So inside the domes have a flower domes, which is the world's largest air-conditioned greenhouse. They take gas on the winding path through extensive plant collections. So it means that inside the domes have different species of plants and flowers that let tourists to look forward into. Looking into the insides of the domes, they actually have a very special, unique architecture where they have the cutting-edge, sustainable technology and designs are incredibly eco-friendly. So each of the domes are comprised of copious amounts of special glass sheets that the domes allow the sunlight through the help of the plants but reflect heat. And in addition, inside the domes, they also have created a sheets to help to cool the interior environments and helping to create an automated system for temperature control. Alright, so this is the maps layout of the flower domes in one of the domes in the Gardens by the Bay. So actually the flower domes is equivalent to 75 Olympic sized swimming pools, and they actually have around 3,000 plus glass panels, and the temperature inside the flower domes is ranging from 33 degrees to 35 degrees. So it's actually a very cooling places for tourists to go for, and it can accommodate up to 1,000 people. So there are different layout of the plants inside here, as you can see, consists of the Mediterranean garden, the flower field, Australian gardens, and many more. Well, this is one of the very unique shades of the glass panels we mentioned just now. So when the shades are not using, it will be shading up, which the conservatories with shading device retracted, and where there is a huge amount of sunlight, the shades will be shading down, which have engineered shading fabrics when activated to prevent the heat from coming into the glass panels. Alright, so there are two main sustainable functions in the glass domes. So the first one is they wanted to minimize the solar heat gain. So the glass domes are fitted with a glass that has a special coating that allows the optimal light in for plants. So it actually provides a shade to the plants when it gets too hot. And secondly, they also wanted to cool only the occupied zones. So strategy of cooling only the lower levels, thus reducing the volume of air to be cooled. It's actually achieved through a displacement cooling, which is the ground cooling. So the warm air will rise and is vented out at high levels. Moving on to the second one, which is the super trees. So super trees are made up of 18 super trees that act as vertical gardens that generate the solar powers inside the Gardens by the Bay. Yeah, so super trees are act as nearby conservatories and collecting rainwaters. So to generate the electricity, the 11 of the super trees are fitted with solar photovoltaic system that converts sunlight into energy, which provides the lighting and aids water technology within the conservatories below. So the photos here is the architecture of the super trees, which on the right hand side is act as a shades for the tourists to rest under the super trees, while on the left hand side, when in the night time when there are rainwaters, it will be stored on the upper side of the super trees, and when on the daytime, when the sunlight hits on the super trees, it will be a solar energy for generating electricity for the super trees. As I mentioned just now, on the super trees, there are actually solar panels on the canopies that have these photovoltaic cells on their canopies to change the solar energy for lighting up the super trees. So it's actually a very sustainable energy in preserving the energy from the super trees. Alright, so there are actually two special unique points on the super trees. The first one is the OCBC walkway on super trees, where tourists can get to go up to the super trees and see the scenery of Singapore. And second one is the newly launched open air rooftop observatory, where tourists can also go up and enjoy the view. While other than, you guys can see on the upper side of the solar panel, there is a rectangle square. So that one is where the solar panel are turned into electricity for super trees. And the last one, we're going to look into the Dragonfly and Kingfisher Lakes, where it's also one of the destinations in the Gardens by the Bay. So this is where the lakes are located at in the bay south of the Gardens by the Bay. So it's near to the Marina Bay Sands, and along the lakes are the Dragonfly and Kingfisher Lakes. Alright, so the Garden Lake system actually functions as a key ecological process and also functions as a living system for the fish and also the aquatic system species. So the lakes actually act as a natural filtration system for water from gardens catchment and provides aquatic habitats for biodiversity such as fish and dragonflies. And there are actually two functions in the lakes. First one is they function as a filtering of water runoff, which means that where water enters and discharges from the lake system, and the water flow is reduced and sediments are filtered out. And second one is the lakes also act as maintaining an aquatic ecosystem, where the habitats for fish and dragonfly are created in the lake system, and it keeps in check to potential problems such as mosquito breeding, so it prevents the mosquito from breeding inside. And according to the research data from the Gardens by the Bay, they actually have installed the renewable energy, which is a solar photovoltaic, that from 2019 to 2021, it has an increasing usage of solar energy, which means that they are actually using the technological capacity for sustainable consumption that's very sustainable for the future environment. So last but not least, how can Malaysia learn about sustainability? So Malaysia can adopt green technology like 3D accurate temperature monitoring that can help the business in distributing airflow according to needs. Just like the domes just now, they turn the heat into the air conditioning system using a sustainable energy. So the second one is Malaysia can try to build and adapt self-healing network with smart technologies. So in this way, business in Malaysia are able to realize the optimization, energy conservation and consumption reduction. So actually it might take a few years for Malaysia to reduce the CO2 emission, the carbon dioxide, but with the greener technology being adapted by more business in the country, it's possible that we can see positive outcome in no time. So moving on, we are going to move into the Q&A session for today's topic. And moving on, what is the main 3 points that Singapore do in order to let the society implement sustainable practices? So there are 3 points. The first one is Singapore have a lot of programs encouraging the 3 R's, which is the reduce, reuse and recycle. And Singapore also have raised environmental awareness through educating the youngsters and reaching out to community groups. For example, like the National Environment Agency, NEA, they have launched a lot of programs towards the youngsters and let them know about the awareness of the sustainability. And the third one is the Minimum Energy Performance Standards, MEPS, launched by the Singapore government to control the energy used by factories and by the companies. The next question is, how can Malaysia implement the sustainability just like Singapore? So just like I mentioned just now, the first one, we can develop more sustained technology for plantation or factory, just like technology like field bin sensors, a smart card access system for waste disposal or other more. So we can also utilize the solar energy to save more energy consumption and decrease the waste of resource in Malaysia. So that's come to the end of our presentation, and I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation today, and thank you so much.